Hi, I'm Philip Hickman, Artistic Director of Actors Theatre of Columbus. Welcome to the Shakespeare Underground. So tonight we are starting a series called Shakespeare's Apocrypha, where we are exploring plays that were either partially written by Shakespeare but left out of his complete works, or plays that were maybe written by Shakespeare, maybe he collaborated on a scene or two, and we'll be looking later in the summer at some outright forgeries. Tonight's show is Edward III. Edward III has a pretty strong case for having been written by Shakespeare, probably in collaboration with Thomas Kyd. So I hope you enjoy watching the show tonight. Now, the Shakespeare Underground and Actors Theatre of Columbus are, of course, deeply indebted to the Greater Columbus Arts Council, the Ohio Arts Council, the Columbus Foundation, and the Reinberger Foundation for keeping us going during the summer where we can't perform outdoors. We also want to thank Viewtech Ruff HER Realty and Regina Acosta Tobin with Metro Village Realty for their specific support for Shakespeare Underground. Those are the folks that keep us going. So thanks again for joining us and enjoy the show.
Robert of Artois, banished though thou be from France, thy native country, with thus thou shalt retain, for we create the Earl of Richmond here. And now go forwards with our pedigree. Who next succeeded Philip le Beau?
3 sons of his, which all successfully did sit upon their father's regal throne, yet died, and left no issue of their loins.
But was my mother sister unto those?
She was, my lord, and only Isabel was all the daughters that this Philip had, whom afterward your father took to wife, and from the fragrant garden of her womb, your gracious self, the flower of Europe's hope, derived its inheritor to France. But note the rancor of rebellious minds, when thus the lineage of Le Beau was out, the French obscured your mother's privilege, and though she were the next blood, proclaimed John of the house of Valois now their king. The reason was, they say, the realm of France ought not admit a governor to rule, except that he be descended of the male. And that's the special ground of their contempt, wherewith they study to exclude your grace. Perhaps it will be thought a heinous thing that I, a Frenchman, should discover this. But heaven I call to record my vows. It is not hate, nor any private wrong, but love unto my country and the right provokes my tongue. You are the lineal watchman of our peace, as Jean of Valois indirectly climbs. Ah, wherein may our duty be more seen than striving to rebate a tyrant's pride and place the true shepherd of our commonwealth?
This counsel, Artois, like to fruitful showers, hath added growth unto my dignity, and by thy fiery vigor words of hot courage is engendered in my breast, which heretofore was raked in ignorance, but now doth mount with golden wings of fame, and will approve fair Isabel's descent, able to yoke their stubborn necks with steel that spurn against my sovereignty in France. Say, Duke of Lorrain, wherefore art thou come?
The most renowned prince, King John of France, doth grant thee, Edward, and by me commands that for so much as by his liberal gift the guy in dukedom is entitled to thee, thou do him lowly homage for the same. And for that purpose, here I summon thee, repair to France within these 40 days. There thou mayst be sworn true liegeman to our king, or else thy title in that province dies, and he himself will repossess the place.
See how occasion laughs me in the face. No sooner minded to prepare for France, straight I am invited, nay, with threats. 'Twere but a childish part to say him nay. Lorrain, 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 Lorrain. Return this answer to thy lord. I mean to visit him as he requests. But how? Not severely disposed to bend like a conqueror to make him bow. Tell him the crown that he usurps is mine, and where he sets his foot he ought to kneel. 'Tis not a petty dukedom that I claim, but all the whole dominions of the realm, which if with grudging he refuses to yield, I'll take away those borrowed plumes of his and send him naked to the wilderness.
Then, Edward, here I do pronounce defiance to thy face.
Defiance, Frenchman! We rebound it back.
The soundest counsel I can give his grace is to surrender ere he be constrained of voluntary mischief, has less scorn than when reproach with violence is born.
Degenerate traitor, viper to the place, bearest thou a part in this conspiracy?
Lorraine, behold the sharpness of this steel. Fervent desire that sits against my heart is far more thorny pricking than this blade. Until my colors be displayed in France, this is my final answer. Begone. Now, lords, our gage is thrown, and war is soon begun, but not so quickly brought unto an end. Ah, but wherefore comes Sir William Mountague? How stands the league between the Scot and us?
Fact! Bend is severed, my renowned lord. The treacherous king no sooner was informed of your withdrawing your army back, but straight, forgetting his former oath, he made invasion on the bordering town. Berwick is won, Newcastle spoiled, lost. Now the tyrant hath beget with siege the castle of Roxborough, where enclosed the Countess Salisbury is likely to perish.
That is thy daughter, Warwick, is it not? Whose husband hath in Britain served so long?
It is, my lord.
Ignoble David, hast thou none to grieve but silly ladies with thy threatening arms? First, therefore, Audley, this shall be thy charge. Go levy footmen for our wars in France, and Ned, take muster of our men at arms in every shire, elect a several band, since we do commence a war with so mighty a nation. Derby, be thou ambassador for us unto our father-in-law, the Earl of Hainault. Make him acquainted with our enterprise, and likewise will him with our own allies that are in Flanders, to solicit to the Emperor of Alemannia in our name. Myself will, with these forces that I have at hand, march and once more repulse the traitorous Scot. But, sirs, be resolute. We shall have wars on every side. And Ned, thou must begin now to forget thy study and thy books, and urge thy shoulders to an armor's weight.
Within this school of honor I shall learn either to sacrifice my foes to death, or in a rightful quarrel spend my breath.
Alas, cousin Mountague, I fear thou dost not tell the king what a grief it is to be the scornful captive of a Scot, either to be wooed with broad, untuned oaths, or forced by rough, insulting barbarism. I must withdraw. The everlasting foe comes to the wall. I'll closely step aside.
My lord of Lorrain, return to our brother of France and say, that we with England will not enter parley, nor never make fair weather or take truce, but burn their neighbour towns, and never shall our bonny riders rest till your king cry out, enough, spare England now for pity.
I leave, and fairly will return your acceptable greeting to my king.
Now, Douglas, to our former task again, for the division of this certain spoil.
My liege, I crave the lady and no more.
Nay, soft ye, sir. First I must make my choice, and first I do bespeak her for myself.
Why then, my liege, let me enjoy her jewels.
Those are her own, still liable to her, and who inherits her hath those withal.
My liege, as we were pricking on the hills, the sun reflecting on the armor shewed a field of plate. Bethink your highness speedily herein. An easy march within 4 hours will bring the hindmost rank into this place, my liege.
Dislodge, it is the King of England. Oh, meanest thou to fight, Douglas? We're too weak.
I know it well, my liege, and this is why.
My lords of Scotland, will ye not stay and drink?
She mocks us, Douglas. I cannot endure it.
Say, good my lord, which is he that may have the lady, and which he her jewels? I am sure, my lords, ye will not hence till ye have shared the spoils.
Oh, she hath heard our talk, and that she scorns us. Woman, farewell.
Oh, happy comfort! Welcome to our house, the confident and boisterous boasting Scot that swore before my walls they would not back, turned hence against the blasting northeast wind upon the bare report and name of arms. See where my cousin comes.
How fares my aunt?
Well, may I give welcome, cousin, to thee, for thou comest well to chase my foes from hence.
The king himself is come in person hither. Dear aunt, descend and congratulate his highness.
How may I entertain his majesty to show my duty and his dignity?
What? Are the stealing foxes fled and gone before we could uncouple at their heels?
They are, my liege, but with a cheerful cry. Hot hounds and hearty chase them at their heels.
Oh, this is the Countess' work, is it not?
Even she, my liege, whose beauty tyrants fear.
What strange enchantment lurked in those her eyes when they excelled this excellence they have, that now her dim decline hath power to draw my subjects' eyes from pursing majesty, to gaze on her with doting admiration.
In duty lower than the ground I kneel, and for my dull knees bow my feeling heart. Witness my obedience to your highness with many millions of a subject's thanks for this your royal presence, whose approach hath driven war and danger from my gate.
Lady, stand up. I come to bring thee peace, however thereby I have purchased war.
No war to you, my liege. The Scots are gone. Gallop homeward towards Scotland with their hate.
Come, we'll peruse the Scots. Artois, away! Ha ha!
A little while, gracious sovereign, stay, and let the power of a mighty king honor our roof. My husband in the wars, when he shall hear it, will triumph for joy.
Put on me, Countess. I will come no near. I dream tonight of treason, and I fear.
Far from this place, let ugly treason lie.
No further off than her conspiring eye, which shoots infected poison in my heart. Bork, Artois, to horse, and let's away!
What might I speak to make my sovereign stay?
What needs a tongue to such a speaking eye, that more persuades than winning oratory?
Let not thy presence, like the April sun, flatter our earth and suddenly be done. More happy do not make our outward wall than thou wilt grace our inner house withal. Entreat thyself to stay a little while with me.
As wise as fair. Come on, my lord, here I will host tonight.
I might perceive his eye in her I lost. Though when she blushed, even then did he look pale, as if her cheeks by some enchanted power attracted the cherry blood from his. Then Scottish wars, farewell. I fear 'twill prove a lingering English siege of peevish love. Here comes his brightness, walking all alone.
She is grown more fair far since I came hither. Her voice more silver every word than other, her wit more fluent. I cannot blame the Scots that did besiege her, for she is all the treasure of our land. But call them cowards that they ran away, having so rich and fair a cause to stay. Art thou there, Lodowick? Give me ink and paper.
I will, my liege.
And bid the lords hold on their play at chess, for we will walk and meditate alone.
I will, my sovereign.
This fellow is well read in poetry, and hath a lusty and persuasive spirit. I will acquaint him with my passion, which he shall shadow with a veil of fine linen, through which the queen of beauty's queen shall see herself the ground of my infirmity. Hast thou pen, ink, and paper ready, Lodowick?
Ready, my liege.
Then in the summer arbor sit by me, and if thou be poet, move thou so, and be enriched by thy sovereign's love.
To whom, my lord, shall I direct my style?
To one that shames the fair and sots the wise, whose bawd is an abstract, or a brief contains each general virtue in the world. Begin. I will to contemplate the while. Forget not to set down how passionate, how heart-sick, and how full of languishment her beauty makes me.
Write I to a woman?
What beauty else could triumph over me? What thinkest thou I did bid thee praise a horse?
Of what condition or estate she is? 'Twere requisite that I should know, my lord.
Of such a state that hers is as a throne, and my state the footstool where she treads. Then mayst thou judge what her condition is by the proportion of her mightiness. Write on, while I peruse her in my thoughts.
More fair and chaste than is the queen of shades.
That line hath two faults. Gross and palpable, comparest thou to the pale queen of night.
And what is the other fault, my lord?
Read over the line again.
More fair and chaste.
I did not bid thee talk of chastity, for I had rather her have chaste than chaste. Out with the moonline, I will none of it. Let's see what follows the same moonlight line.
More fair and chaste than is the queen of shades. More bold and Constance.
And Constance than who?
Than Judith was.
Ugh, monstrous line. Blot, blot, good Lodowick. Let us hear the next.
And that's all that yet is done.
I thank thee then, thou hast done little ill, but what is done is passing, passing ill. Love cannot sound well, but in lovers' tongues. Give me the pen and paper, I will write. Oh, But soft, here comes the treasure of my spirit.
Pardon my boldness, my thrice gracious lords. Let my intrusion here be called my duty, that comes to see my sovereign, how he fares.
I go.
Sorry I am to see my liege so sad. What may thy subject do to drive from thee thy gloomy consort?
Ah, lady, since I came hither, Countess, I am wronged.
Now God forbid that any in my house should think my sovereign wrong. Thrice gentle king, acquaint me with the cause of your discontent.
How near then shall I be to remedy?
As near, my liege, as all my woman's power can pawn it itself to buy thy remedy.
If thou speakest true, then have I my redress. Engage thy power to redeem my joys, and I am joyful, Countess, else I die.
I will, my liege.
Swear, Countess, that thou wilt.
By heaven, I will.
Then take thyself a little way aside, and tell thyself a king doth dote on thee. Say that within thy power it doth lie to make him happy, and that thou hast sworn to give him all the joy within the power. Do this and tell me when I shall be happy.
All this is done, my thrice dread sovereign. That power of love that I have power to give, thou hast with all devout obedience. Employ me how thou wilt in proof thereof.
Thou hearst me say that I do dote on thee.
If on my beauty, take it if thou canst, though little I do prize it 10 times less. If on my virtue, take it if thou canst, for virtue's store by giving doth augment. Be it on what it will that I can give, and thou canst take away, inherit it.
It is thy beauty that I would enjoy.
Oh, if it were painted, I would wipe it off and dispossess myself to give it to thee. But sovereign, it is soldered to my life. Take one and both.
But thou mayst lend it me to sport withal.
As easy may my intellectual soul be lent away, and yet my body live. As lend my body, palace to my soul away from her, and yet retain my soul. If I should leave her house, my lord, to thee, I kill my soul, and my poor soul me.
Didst thou not swear to give me what I would?
I did, my liege, so what you would, I could.
I wish no more of thee than thou mayst give, nor beg I do not, but I rather buy. That is thy love, and for that love of thine, in rich exchange I tender to thee mine.
But that your lips were sacred, my lord, you would profane the holy name of love. That love you offer me, you cannot give. That love you beg of me, I cannot give. For will your sacred self commit high treason against the King of Heaven, forgetting your allegiance and your oath? In violating marriage, sacred law, you break a greater honor than yourself. In my husband's love, who doth now loyal service in your wars, doth but so try the wife of Salisbury. From that, not from my liege, I turn away.
Whether is her beauty by her words dying, or are her words sweet chaplains to her beauty, I must enjoy her, for I cannot beat with reason and reproof found love away. Oh, here comes her father. I will work with him to bear my colors in this field of love.
How is it that my sovereign is so sad? May I pardon your highness grief, and that my old endeavor will remove it. It shall not cumber you long, your majesty.
A kind involuntary gift thou proferst, that I was forward to have begged of thee. Why dost thou tip men's tongues with golden words, and pies their deeds with weights of heavy lead, that fair performance cannot follow promise?
I say again, if I knew your grief, and that by me it may be lessened, my proper harm should buy your highness good.
These are the vulgar tenders of false men that never pay the duty of their words. When thou knowest my grief's condition, this rash disgorged vomit of thy word thou wilt eat up again and leave me helpless.
By heaven, I will not, though your majesty bid me run upon your sword and die.
Say that my grief is no way medicinable, but by the loss and bruising of thine honor.
If nothing but that vantage, or that loss may vantage you, I would count that loss my vantage too.
What office were it to suggest a man to break a lawful and religious vow?
Or an office for the devil, not a man.
That devil's office must thou do for me, or break thy oath, or cancel all these bonds of love and duty twixt thyself and me. And therefore, Warwick, go to thy daughter, and in behalf command her to be my mistress and my secret love. I will not stand to hear thee make reply.
Oh, doting king. Oh, detestable office. Well may I tempt myself to wrong myself, when he hath sworn me by the name of God, to break a vow made by the name of God. I'll keep mine oath. I'll say she must be forget her husband Salisbury, if she remember to embrace the king. I'll say an oath may easily be broken, but not so easily pardoned being broken. I'll say it is my duty to persuade, but not her honesty to give consent. We'll see where she comes.
My lord and father, I have sought for you.
Oh, how shall I enter into this graceless rant? The mighty king of England doth dote on thee. He hath the power to take away thy life, hath power to take away thy honor, then consent upon thine honor rather than thy life. The honor is often lost and got again, but life once lost is no recovery. The king's great name will temper any misdeeds, give the bitter potion of reproach a sugared, sweet, most delicious taste. Thus have I, in his majesty's behalf, perilled sin in virtuous sentences, and dwell upon thine answer in his suit.
Unnatural besiege. Woe me, unhappy to have escaped the danger of my foes and to be 10 times worse injured by my friends. No, let me die if his too boisterous will have it so, before I will consent to be an actor in this graceless lust.
Why, now thou speakest as I would have thee speak, and mark how I unsay my words again. An honorable grave is more esteemed than a polluted closet of a king. An evil deed done by authority is sin and subordination. So leave with my blessing in your bosom, which then convert to a most heavy curse, where thou convertest from honor's golden name to a black faction of a bed-blotting shame.
I'll follow thee, and when my mind turns so, my body sink my soul in endless woe.
Thrice noble Audley, well encountered here. How is it with our sovereign and his peers?
'Tis full of fortnight since I saw his highness. What time he sent me forth to muster men, which I accordingly have done, and bring them hither in fair array before his majesty. What news, my lord of Derby, from the emperor?
As good as we desire. The emperor hath yielded to his highness friendly aid, and makes our king lieutenant general in all his lands and large dominions.
What, doth his highness leap to hear these news?
I have not yet found time to open them. The king is in his closet, malcontent, for what I do not know, but he gave in charge till after dinner none should interrupt him.
Undoubtedly, then, something is amiss. Here comes his highness!
Befall my sovereign, all my sovereign's wish.
Oh, that thou wert a witch to make it so.
The emperor greeteth you.
Would it were the Countess.
And hath accorded your highness sweet.
Thou liest, she hath not, but I would she had.
Oh, love and duty to my lord the king.
Well, all but one is none. What news with you?
I have, my liege, levied those horse and foot according to your charge, and brought them hither.
Then let those foot trudge hence upon those horse according to our discharge, and be gone. Derby, I'll look upon the Countess, mind anon.
The Countess, mind, my liege.
I mean the Emperor. Leave me alone.
Let's leave him to his humor.
Thus from the hearts abounded speaks the tongue, Countess for my Emperor. And indeed, why not? She is an imperator over me, and I to her am as a kneeling vessel that observes the pleasure of displeasure of her eye. What says more than Cleopatra's match to Caesar now?
That yet, my liege, ere night, she will resolve your majesty.
God, what drum is that that thunders forth this march? Go, bid the drummer learn to touch the lute, or hang him in the braces of his drum. For now we think it is an uncivil thing to trouble heaven with such harsh resounds. Away. The quarrel that I have requires no arms but these of mine. But alas, she wins the son of me. Love hath eyes as judgment, till too much loved glory dazzles them. How now?
My liege, the drum that stroke the lusty march stands with Prince Edward, your thrice valiant son.
I see the boy, how his mother's face modeled in his corrects my stray desire, and rates my heart and chides my thievish eye, who, being rich enough in seeing her, yet seeks elsewhere. Now, boy, what news?
I have assembled, my dear lord and father, the choicest buds of all our English blood for our affairs in France. And here we come to take direction from your majesty.
Still do I see him delineate his mother's visage. Those his eyes are hers who, looking wistly on me, make me blush. To the large limit of fair Britain by me be overthrown, and shall I not master this little mansion of myself? Must not be. Come, boy, forward, advance! Let's with our colors sweet the air of France.
My liege, the Countess with a smiling cheer desires access unto your majesty.
Go fetch the Countess hither in thy hand, and let her chase away these winter clouds.
Prince.
The sin is more to hack and hew poor men than to embrace an unlawful bed. Go, Lodowick, hence a while here and leave me here. Now, my soul's playfellow, art thou come to speak the more than heavenly word of yea to my objection to thy beauteous love?
My father, on his blessing, hath commanded
that thou shalt yield to me.
Aye, dear my liege, your due.
And that, my dearest love, can be no less than right for right and tender love for love.
Then wrong for wrong and endless hate for hate. But sith I see your majesty so bent, so I will, provided that yourself remove those lets that stand between your highness's love and mine.
Name them, fair Countess, and by heaven I will.
My thrice loving liege, your queen, and Salisbury, my wedded husband, who living have that title in our love that we cannot bestow but by their death. I cannot think you love me as you say, unless you do make good what you have sworn.
No more. Thy husband and the queen shall die.
Keep but thy word, great king, and I am thine. Here by my side doth hang my wedding knives. Stir not, lascivious. I strike. Therefore stand still, and hear the choice that I will put thee to. Either swear to leave thy most unholy suit, and never henceforth to solicit me, or I will strike and die before thee here.
That gives me now the power to be ashamed of myself. Oh, I never mean to part my lips again in any words that tends to such a suit. I am awakened from this idle dream. Oh, Warwick, my son, Darby, Artois, and Audley, brave warriors all, where are you all this while? Warwick, I make thee warden of the north, thou Prince of Wales, and Audley straight to sea, Skull to New Haven, some there stay for me. Myself, Artois, and Darby will through Flanders to greet our friends there and to crave their aid. This night will scarce suffice a faithful lover. For ere the sun shall glid the eastern sky, we'll wake him with our martial harmony.
Here, till our navy of 1,000 sail let us encamp to wait their happy speed. Lorrain, what readiness is Edward in?
To lay aside unnecessary soothing, 'tis brooded for a certainty, my lord, that he's exceedingly strongly fortified. His subjects flock as willingly to war as if unto a triumph they were led.
All but this Scot, who solemnly protests never to sheath his sword or take a truce. Ah, that's the anchorage of some better hope. But on the other side, to think what friends King Edward hath retained in Netherland, and those frothy Dutchmen. But all the mightier that their number is, the greater glory reaps the victory. Some friends have we beside domestic power, the stern Polonian and the warlike Dane, the king of Bohemia and of Sicily are all marching hither apace. But soft, I hear the music of their drums.
King John of France, I come to aid thee with my country's force, and from great Moscow, fearful to the Turk, and lofty Poland, nurse of hardy men, I bring these servitors to fight for thee, who will willingly venture in thy cause.
Welcome, Bohemian King. This your great kindness I will not forget. And now my hope is full, my joy complete. At sea we are as puissant as the force of Agamemnon in the haven of Troy. By land with Xerxes we compare of strength, whose soldiers drank up rivers in their thirst, then mired like blind, overweening Ned. To reach at our imperial diadem is either to be swallowed in the waves, or hacked to pieces while thou comest ashore. Do you smell a
Near
mariner?
to the coast I have descried, my lord, as I was by in my watchful charge, the proud armado of King Edward's ships, which at the first far off when I did ken, but drawing near, the glorious bright aspect, the streaming ensigns, the arms of England and of France unite and are quartered equally by Herald's art. They plough the ocean hitherward amain.
Dare he already crop the fleur de loup? But where's our navy? How are they prepared to wing themselves against this flight of ravens.
They, having knowledge brought them by the scouts, did break from anchor straight and poofed with rage, no otherwise than there were their sails with wind made forth as when the empty eagle flies to satisfy his hungry griping maw.
There's for thy news. Return unto thy bark, and if thou scape the bloody stroke of war and do survive the conflict, come again and let us hear the manner of the fight. Mean space, my lords, 'tis best we be dispersed to several places. First you, my lord, with your Bohemian troops, shall pitch your battles on the lower hand. My eldest son, the Duke of Normandy, together with the aid of the Muscovites, shall climb the higher ground another way. Here in the middle cost betwixt you both, Philip, my youngest boy, and I will lodge. So, lords, be gone, and look unto your charge. You stand for France, an empire fair and large. Now, tell me, Philip, what is thy concept touching the challenge that the English make?
I say, my lord, claim Edward what he can, and bring he ne'er so plain a pedigree, 'tis you are in possession of the crown.
Well said, young Philip. Call for bread and wine, that we may cheer our stomachs with repast, to look our foes more sternly in the face. Now is begun the heavy day at sea. Fight, Frenchman, fight.
Oh, father, how this echoing cannon shot, like sweet harmony, digests my eats.
Now, boy, thou hearest what thundering terror 'tis to buckle for a kingdom's sovereignty. Retreat is sounded. One side hath the worse. Oh, if it be the French sweet fortune turn. My heart misgives. Say, mirror of the pale death, to whom belongs the honor of this day?
The gracious sovereign, France hath ta'en the fall, and boasting Edward triumphs with success. No leisure served for friends to bid farewell, and if it did, the hideous noise was such as each to each other deemed deaf and dumb. Purple the sea, whose channel filled as fast as steaming gore. Here flew ahead, descent from the trunk. There mangled arms and legs were tossed aloft, as when a whirlwind makes the summer dust and scatters it in middle of the air. Then might you see the railing vessel split and tottering sink into the ruthless flood until their lofty tops were seen no more. We have untimely lost, and they have won.
Then rests there nothing, but with present speed to join our several forces all in one, and bid them battle ere they range too far. Come, gentle Philip, let us hence depart. Soldiers, birds, pierce thy father's heart.
Where's the French man whose by cunning guide we found the shallow of this river Somme, and had directions how to pass the sea?
Here, my good lord.
Ha ha! How art thou called? Tell me thy name.
Gobin de Grey, if it please your excellence.
Then Gobin.
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 Then, Gobin, for the service thou hast done, we here enlarge and give thee liberty. And for recompense, beside this good, thou shalt receive 500 marks in gold. I know not how we should have met our son, whom now in heart I wish I might behold.
Good news, my lord. The prince is hard at hand, and with him comes Lord Audley and the rest.
Welcome, my fair prince. How hast thou sped, my son, since thy arrival on the coast of France?
Successfully, I thank the gracious heavens. Some of their strongest cities we have won, leaving at our heels a wide apparent field and beaten path. Yet those that would submit we kindly pardoned, but who in scorn refused our proffered peace, endured the penalty of sharp revenge.
Ah, France, why shouldst thou be thus obstinate against the kind embracement of thy friends? But tell me, Ned, in all thy warlike course, hast thou not seen the usurping king of France?
Yes, my good lord, and not 2 hours ago, with a full 100,000 fighting men, upon the one side of the river's bank, and on the other both his multitudes. But happily, perceiving your approach, he hath withdrawn himself to Cressy Plains, where, as it seemeth by his good array, he means to bid us battle presently.
He shall be welcome. That's the thing we crave.
Edward, know that John, the true king of France, musing thou shouldst encroach upon his land, and in thy tyrannous proceedings slay his faithful subjects and subvert his towns, spits in thy face, and in this manner following upbraids thee with thine arrogant intrusion. First, I condemn thee for a thievish pirate, one that doest altogether live by pilfering. Next, insomuch thou hast broke league and solemn covenant made with me, I hold thee for a false religious witch. And last of all, thy thirst is for all for gold, thy labor rather to be feared than loved, to satisfy thy lust in either part. Here am I come, and with me have I brought exceeding store of treasure, pearl and coin. Leave therefore, and let it be seen, amongst other petty thefts, how thou canst win this pillage manfully.
How I regard thy worthless taunts. If thou have uttered them to foil my name or dim the reputation of my birth, know that thy wolvish barking cannot hurt. But for the crown which thou dost wear, and that I vow to have, or one of us shall fall into his grave.
Edward, I know what right thou hast in France, and ere I basely will resign my crown, this champion field shall be a pool of blood, and all our prospect as a slaughterhouse.
Aye, that approves thee, tyrant, what thou art. No father, king, or shepherd of thy realm, but one that tears her entrails with thy hands, and like a thirsty tiger suckst her blood.
Was ever any of thy father's house king but thyself before this present time? Edward's great lineage by the mother's side 500 years hath held the scepter up. Judge then, conspirators, in this descent, which is the true-born sovereign, this or that?
Father, range your battles. Prate no more. These English fiend would rather spend time in word, that night approaching, they might escape unfought.
Lords, and my loving subjects, now's the time that your intended force must bide the touch. Therefore, my friends, consider this in brief. He that you fight for is your natural king. He against whom you fight, a foreigner. Then to protect your country and your king, let but the haughty hearts answer the number of your able hands, and we shall quickly chase these fugitives.
Vive le Roy! God save King John of France.
Now on this plain of Cressy, spread yourselves, and Edward, when thou darest, begin the fight.
We presently will meet the An English lord, let us resolve this day, either declare us of that scandalous crime, or be entombed in our innocence. Now we leave, till thou hast won it in the field. The leading of the vaward, Ned, is thine for the main battles. I will guide myself, and Darby in the rearward march behind, that orderly dispose and set in ray. Let us to horse, and God grant us this day.
Oh, Lorrain, say what mean our men to fly? Our number is far greater than our foes.
The garrison of Drenois, my lord, no sooner in the forefront took their place, but straight retiring, so dismayed the rest, as likewise they betook themselves to flight, in which, for haste to make a safe escape, more in the clustering throngs are pressed to death than by the enemy 1,000-fold.
Oh, hapless fortune. Let us yet essay if we can counsel some of them to stay.
Lord Audley, whiles our son is in the chase, withdraw our powers unto this little hill, and here a season let us breathe ourselves.
I will, my lord.
Just dooming heaven, whose secret providence to our gross judgment is inscrutable. How are we bound to praise thy wondrous works, that hast this day given way unto the right, and made the wicked stumble at themselves?
Rescue, King Edward, rescue for thy son.
Rescue Artois, or what is he, prisoner, or by violence fell beside his horse?
Neither, my lord, but narrowly beset with turning Frenchmen, whom he did pursue, and 'tis impossible that he should escape, except your highness presently descend.
Let him fight.
The prince, my lord, the prince, oh succor him, he's close encompassed with a world of odds.
Then will he win a world of honor too, if he by valor can redeem him thence, if not, what remedy? We have more sons than one to comfort our declining age.
Renowned Edward, give me leave, I pray, to lead my soldiers where I may relieve your grace's son, in danger to be slain. The snares of French muster about him, whilst he, lion-like, frantically rends and bites, but all in vain. He cannot free himself.
Audley, content, I will not have a man on pain of death sent forth to succor him. This is the day ordained by destiny, to season his courage with those grievous thoughts, that if he breaketh out, Nestor's years on earth will make him savor still of his exploit.
But he shall not live to see those days.
Why, then his epitaph is lasting praise.
Yet, good, my lord, 'tis too much willfulness to let his blood be spilt that may be saved.
Exclaim no more, for none of you can tell whether a borrowed aid will serve or no.
Oh, cruel father. Farewell, Edward, then.
Farewell, sweet prince, the hope of chivalry.
Oh, would my life might ransom him from death.
But soft, methinks I hear. The dismal charges of trumpets loud retreat are all are not slain. I hope that went with him some will return with tidings, good or bad.
Joyful sight, victorious Edward lives.
Welcome, brave prince.
First, having done my duty as beseemed, lords, I regreet you all with hearty thanks. And now, with humble duty, I present this sacrifice, this first fruit of my sword, the King of Bohemia, father, whom I slew, whose thousands had entrenched me round about, yet marvel courage still did underprop, and when my weary arms, with often blows, began to falter, straight I would record my zealous vow, and then new courage made me fresh again. Thus hath Edward's hand filled your request, and done, I hope, the duty of a knight.
Well, thou hast deserved a knighthood, Ned. And therefore, with thy sword, yet reeking warm, this blood of those that fought to be thy bane, arise, Prince Edward, trusty knight at arms. This day thou hast confounded me with joy, and proud thyself fit to heir unto a king.
Here is a note, my gracious lord, of those that in this conflict of our foes were slain. 11 princes of esteem, 80 barons, 120 knights, and 30,000 common soldiers. And of our men, 1,000.
Our God be praised! God of France, I hope thou knowest King Edward for no wantonness, no love-sick cockney, nor his soldiers' jades. But which way is the fearful king escaped?
Toward Poitiers, noble father, and his sons.
Ned, thou and Audley shall pursue them still. Myself and Derby will to Calais straight.
Now, if I knew but safely how to pass, I would at Calais gladly meet his grace. Whether I am by letter certified that he intends to have his host removed, it shall be so. This policy will serve. Ho! Who's within? Bring Villiers to me. Villiers, thou knowest thou art my prisoner, and that I might ransom, if I would, require of thee 100,000 francs. But so it is, that for a smaller charge thou mayst be quit, and if thou wilt thyself, and this is it, procure for me but a passport of Charles, the Duke of Normandy, that I, without restraint, may have recourse to Calais through all the countries wherein where he hath to do, which thou mayst easily obtain, I think. By reason I have often heard thee say he and thou were students once together. And then thou shalt be at liberty. How sayest thou? Wilt thou undertake to do it?
I will, my lord, but I must speak with him.
Why, so thou shalt. Take horse and post from hence. Only before thou goest, swear by faith that if thou canst not compass my desire, thou wilt return my prisoner back again, and that shall be sufficient warrant for me.
To that condition I agree, my lord, and I will unfeignedly perform the same.
Farewell, Villiers. Thus once I mean to try a Frenchman's faith.
Since they refuse our preferred league, my lord, and will not open the gates and let us in, we will entrench ourselves on every side, that neither victuals nor supply of men may come to succor this accursed town. Famine shall combat where our swords are stopped.
The promised aid that made them stand aloof is now retired and gone the other way. It will repent them of their stubborn will. But what are these poor, ragged slaves, my lord?
Ask what they are. It seems they come from Calais.
You, wretched patterns of despair and woe, what are you? Living man or gliding ghost?
No ghost, my lord. I am a distressed poor inhabitant. And now, because I am not fit to serve, the captain of the town hath thrust me forth, so that expensive victuals may be spared.
A charitable deed, no doubt, and worthy praise. But how do you imagine, then, to speed? We are your enemies in such case. We can no less but put ye to the sword, since when we preferred truce, it was refused.
And if your grace no otherwise vouchsafe, As welcome death is unto me as life.
Poor Suleiman, much wronged and more distressed. Go, Derby, go and see that they be relieved. Command that victuals that be appointed them, and give to every one 5 crowns apiece. Ah, Lord Percy, welcome. What's the news in England?
The Queen, my lord, comes here to your grace, and from her Highness and the Lord Vice-Regent, I bring this happy tidings of success. David of Scotland, lately up in arms, was vanquished, subdued, and taken prisoner.
Thanks, Percy, for thy news, with all my heart. What was he took him prisoner in the field?
A esquire, my lord. John Copland, his name. The Queen, my lord, proposes to land at Calais and to visit you, and with her she shall bring his prisoner king.
She shall be welcome.
The burgesses of Calais, mighty king, have by council willingly decreed to yield the town and castle to your hands, upon condition it will please your grace to grant them benefit of life and goods.
Yeah. No. Sir, I'll tell them, since they did refuse our princely clemency at first proclaimed, that shall not have it now, although they would, I will accept of not by fire and sword. Except within these 2 days, 6 of them that are the wealthiest merchants in the town, and yield themselves upon their knees to be afflicted, hanged, or what I please. And so you may inform their masterships.
Audley, the arms of death embrace us round, and comfort have we none, save that to die we pay sour earnest for a sweeter life. At Cressy field out clouds of warlike smoke choked up those French mouths and dissevered them. But now their multitudes of millions hide, masking as 'twere the beauteous burning sun, leaving no hope to us, but sullen dark and eyeless terror of all ending night.
The sudden, mighty, and expedient head that they have made, fair prince, is wonderful. Before us in the valley lies the king, his party stronger battled than our whole. His son, the braving Duke of Normandy, hath trimmed the mountain on our right hand up in shining plate. On our left hand lies Philip, the younger issue of the king, coating the other hill in such array that all his gilded upright pikes do seem straight trees of gold.
Death's name is much more mighty than his deeds. These quarters, squadrons, and those regiments before, behind us, and on either hand, are but a power. There is but one France, one king of France. That France hath no more kings, and that same king hath but the puissant legion of one king. And we have one. Then apprehend no odds, for 1 to 1 is fair equality. What tidings, messenger? Be plain and brief.
Yeah, the King of France, my sovereign lord and master, greets me by his foe, the Prince of Wales. If thou calls forth 100 men of name of lords, knights, squires, and English gentlemen, and with thyself and those kneel at his feet, he straight will fold his bloody colors up, and ransom shall redeem lives forfeited. If not, this day shall drink more English blood than e'er was buried in our British earth. What is the answer to this proffered mercy?
The Lord forbid! Return and tell the king, my tongue is made of steel, and it shall beg my mercy on his coward burgonet. Tell him my colors are as red as his, my men as bold, our English arms as strong. Return him my defiance in his face.
I go.
What news with thee?
The Duke of Normandy, my lord and master, pitying thy youth is so in grit with peril, by me hath sent a nimble-jointed jennet, and therewithal he counsels thee to fly, else death himself hath sworn that thou shalt die.
Back with the beast unto the beast that sent him. Tell him I cannot sit a coward's horse. So tell the carping boy, and get thee gone.
Edward of Wales, Philip, the second son to the most mighty Christian king of France, seeing thy body's living date expired, all full of charity and Christian love, commends this book. This book, fraught full of prayers, to thy fair hand and for thy hour of life, entreats thee that thou meditate therein and arm thy soul for her long journey towards. Thus I have done his bidding and returned.
Herald of Philip, greet thy lord from me. All good that he can send, I can receive. But think'st thou not, the unadvised boy hath wronged himself in thus far tendering thee? Haply he cannot pray without the book. I think him no divine extemporal. Then render back this commonplace of prayer to do him good in adversity. So tell the courtly wanton, and be gone.
I go.
How confident their strength and number makes them. Now, Audley, teach me an answer to this perilous time.
To die is all as common as to live. The one ince wise, the other holds in chase. For from the instant we begin to live, we do pursue and hunt the time to die. If we hunt for death, why do we fear it? If we do fear, with fear we do but aid the thing we fear to seize on us the sooner. If we fear not, then no resolved proffer can overthrow the limit of our fate. For whether ripe or rotten, drop we shall, as we do draw the lottery of our doom.
Ah, good old man, 1,000 armors these words of thine have buckled on my back. What an idiot thou hast made of life, to seek the thing it fears, since for to live is but to seek to die, and dying but beginning of new life. Let come the hour when he that rules it will, to live or die, I hold indifferent.
A sudden darkness hath defaced the sky. Silence attends some wonder, and expecteth that heaven should pronounce some prophecy. Where, or from whom, proceeds this silence, Charles?
Our men with open mouths and staring eyes look on each other as they do to attend each other's words, yet no creature speaks.
Hark, what deadly outre do I hear?
Here comes my brother Philip.
All dismayed. What fearful words are those thy looks presage?
A flight. A flight.
Coward, what flight? Thou liest, there needs no flight.
A flight.
Awaken thy craven powers, and tell on the substance of that very fear indeed, which is so ghastly painted in thy face. What is the matter?
A flight of ugly ravens do croak and hover over our soldiers' heads. With their approach there came this sudden fog, which made a noon and night unnatural upon the quaking and dismayed world.
In brief, our soldiers have let fall their arms, and stand like metamorphosed images, bloodless and pale, gazing at one another.
Now I call to mind the prophecy, but I must give no entrance to a fear. Return and hearten up these yielding souls. Tell them the ravens, seeing them in arms, come but to dine upon their handiwork, and prey upon the carrion they kill. Away and comfort up my soldiers, and sound trumpets, and at once dispatch this little business of a silly fraud.
Behold, my liege, this knight and 40 more sought to break our ranks, and make their way to the encompassed prince. Dispose of him as you please, your majesty.
Go in the next bow, soldier, that thou seest, disgrace it with his body presently. For I do hold a tree in France too good to be the gallows of an English thief.
My lord of Normandy, I have your pass and wore it for my safety through this land.
Villiers procured it for you, did he not?
Oh, he did.
And it is current. Thou shalt freely pass.
I freely to the gallows to be hanged, without denial or impediment. Away with him.
I hope your highness will not so disgrace me and dash the virtue of my seal at arms. He hath my never broken name to show, charactered with this princely hand of mine. I do beseech you, let him pass in quiet.
Thou and thy word lie both in my command. Thy word nor no man's may exceed his power, that keeps it to the utmost of his power. The breach of faith dwells in the soul's consent, which if thyself without consent do break, thou art not charged with breach of faith. Go, hang him, for thy license lies in me, and my constraint stands the excuse for thee.
What, am I not a soldier in my word? Then arms, adieu, and let them fight that list. Upon my soul, had Edward, Prince of Wales, engaged his words, writ down his noble hand, for all your knights to pass his father's land, the royal king to grace his warlike son, would not alone safe conduct give to them, but with all bounty feasted them and theirs.
Dwellst thou on precedence? And be it so. Say, Englishman, of what degree thou art.
An earl in England, though a prisoner here. And those that know me call me Salisbury.
Then, Salisbury, say whether thou art bound.
To Calais, where my liege, King Edward, is.
Then to Calais pack, and bid the king prepare a noble grave. And as thou travelst westward from this place, some 2 leagues hence there is a lofty hill, whose top seems topless, for the embracing sky look back upon the humble vale beneath, and thence behold the wretched Prince of Wales, hooped with a bond of iron round, after which sight to Calais spur amain, and say, the prince was smothered and not slain. And tell the king, this is not all his ill, for I will greet him ere he thinks I will. Away, be gone.
How fares your grace? Are you not shot, my lord?
No, dear Artois, but choked with dust and smoke, and stepped aside for breath and fresher air.
Breath then, and do it again. The amazed French are quite distracted at gazing on the crows, and war our quivers full of chefs again. Your grace should see a glorious day of this. Oh, for more arrows, Lord, that's our want.
Courage, Artois! A fig for feathered shafts! when feathered fowls do bandy on our side? What need we fight, when railing crows outscold our adversaries? Up, up, Artois! The ground itself is armed with fire containing flint. Command our bows to hurl away their pretty colored hue, into it with stones. Away, Artois, away! My soul doth prophesy we win the day.
Our multitudes are in themselves confounded, dismayed and distraught. Swift starting fear hath buzzed a cold dismay through all our army. Every petty disadvantage prompts the fear-possessed abject soul to fly. Myself, whose spirit is steel to their dull lead, what with recalling of the prophecy and that our native stones from English arms rebel against us, find myself tainted with strong surprise of weak and yielding fear.
Fly, father, fly! The French do kill the French. Some that would stand let drive, and some that fly. The spirit of fear that feareth not, but death cowardly works confusion on itself.
Oh.
Pluck out your eyes, and see not this day's shame. One poor David hath with a stone foiled stout Goliaths. Some 20 naked starvelings with small flints hath driven back a puissant host of men, arrayed and fenced in all accomplishments.
Mon Dieu, they croient at us and kill us up. No less than 40,000 wicked elders, 40 lean slaves this day stoned to death.
Oh, that I were some other countryman. This day hath set derision on the French, and all the world will blurt and scorn at us.
What, is there no hope left?
Hope but death to bury up our shame.
Make up once more with me. The 20th part of those that live are men enow to quail the feeble handful on the adverse part.
Then charge again. If heaven be not opposed, we cannot lose the day.
On! Away!
How fares my lord?
Even as a man may do that dines at such a bloody feast as this.
I hope, my lord, that is no mortal scar.
No matter if it be. Good friend, convey me to the princely Edward, that in the crimson bravery of my blood I may become him with saluting him. I'll smile and tell him that this open scar doth end the harvest of his Audley's war.
Now, John in France, and lately John of France, thy bloody ensigns are my captive colours, and you, high vaunting Charles of Normandy, that one today sent me a horse to fly, are now the subjects of my clemency. Fie, lords! Is it not a shame that English boys whose early days are yet not worth a beard should in the bosom of your kingdom thus, 1 against 20, beat you up together?
Thy fortune, not thy force, hath conquered us.
An argument that heaven aids the right. Welcome, Artois. And welcome, Philip, too. Who now of you or I have need to pray? Now is the proverb verified in you. Too bright a morning breeds a lowering day. But say, what grim discouragement comes here? Alas, what 1,000 armed men of France have writ that note of death in Audley's face? What hungry sword hath so bereaved thy face, and lopped a true friend from my loving soul?
Oh, Prince, Thy sweet becoming speech to me is as a mournful knell to one dead sick.
Dear Audley, if my tongue ring out thy end, my arms shall be thy grave. What may I do to win thy life, or to revenge thy death? Share wholly, Audley.
Victorious prince, if I could hold death but at a bay, till I see my liege, thy royal father, my soul should yield this castle of my flesh, this mangled tribute with all willingness to darkness, consummation, dust, and worms.
To repair thy life, I give to thee 3,000 marks a year in English land.
I take thy gift, to pay the debts I owe. This poor esquire redeemed me from the French. What thou hast given me, I give to him. And as thou lovest me, prince, lay thy consent to this bequeath in my last testament.
Live or die, what thou hast given away to these and theirs shall lasting freedom stay. Come, gentlemen, I will see my friend bestowed within an easy litter. Then we'll march proudly towards Calais with triumphant pace unto my royal father, and there bring the tribute of my wars, fair France his king.
Unto this proud resisting town. Soldiers, assault! I will no longer stay, to be deluded by their false delays. Put all to sword and make the spoil your own.
Mercy, King Edward, mercy, gracious Lord.
Contemptuous villains, call ye now for truce? Mine ears are stopped against your bootless cries. Sound, drums, alarum! Draw threatening swords!
Ah, noble prince, take pity on this town, and hear us, mighty king. We are come with willingness to bear what torturing death or punishment you please, so that the trembling multitude be served.
My promise? Well, I do confess as much. But I do require the chiefest citizens and men of most account that should submit cannot overreach us thus.
The sun, dread Lord, behold us now, low brought through misery, did in the orient purple of the morn salute our coming forth when we were known, or may our portion be with damned fiends.
If it be so, then let our covenant stand. We take possession of the town in peace, but for yourselves, as imperial justice hath decreed, your body shall be dragged about these walls, and after the feel of stroke of quartering steel. This is your doom. Go, soldiers, save time.
Oh, be more mild unto these yielding men. It is a glorious thing to establish peace, and kings approach the nearest unto God by giving life and unto men. As thou intendest to be king of to call thee king.
Although experience teaches us this is true, that peaceful quietness brings most delight, when most of all abuses are controlled, yet insomuch it shall be known that we as well can master our affections as conquer other by dint of sword. Philip, prevail. We yield to thy request. These men shall live to boast of clemency, in tyranny strike terror to thyself.
Long live your highness, happy be your reign.
Stop it. Go, get you hence, return unto the town, and if this kindness hath deserved your love, learn then to reverence Edward as your king. Oh, but who comes here? Aha! Welcome, Lord Salisbury. What news from Britain?
This mighty king, the country we have won.
We thank thee for thy service, valiant Earl. Challenge our favor, for we owe it thee.
But now, my lord, as this joyful news, so must my voice be tragic again. I must sing of doleful accidents.
What, have our men the overthrow at Poitiers? Or is our son beset with too much art?
He was, my lord. And as my worthless self with 40 other serviceable knights under safe conduct of the Dauphin's seal did travel that way, fighting him distressed. There, my lord, oh, we did descry down in a valley where both armies lay. The French had cast their trenches like a ring, and in the midst stood famous Edward, still expecting when those dogs of France would fasten on his flesh. Anon, the death-procuring knell begins. Off go the cannons, then sound the trumpets of clangor in the air. The battles join, and when he could no more discern the difference twixt friend and foe, so intricate the dark confusion was, away we turned with watery eyes, with sighs, as black as powder fuming into smoke. And thus I fear unhappy have I told the most untimely tale of Edward.
Ah, me! Is this my welcome into France? Sweet Ned, I would thy mother in the sea had prevented of this mortal grief.
Content thee, Philip. 'Tis not tears will serve. To call him back, if he be taken hence, comfort thyself as I do, gentle queen, with hope of sharp, unheard of dire revenge. He bids me to provide his funeral, and so I will, but all the peers in France shall mourners be, and weep our bloody tears, until the empty veins be dry and sere. The pillars of his hearse shall be of his bones, the mold that covers him, the city ashes, his knell, the groaning cries of dying men, and in the steed of tapers to his tomb, and 150 towers shall burning blaze, while we bewail valiant sons. Away with mourning, Philip! Oh, wipe thine eyes. Sound trumpets, welcome and Plantagenet, as things long lost when they are found again. So doth my son rejoice his father's heart, from whom even now my soul was much perplexed.
Be this a token to express my joy? For inward passion will not let me speak.
My gracious father, here receive the gift, this wreath of conquest and reward of war. Install your highness in your proper right, and herewithal I render to your hands these prisoners, chief occasion of our strife.
So, John of France, I see you keep your word. You promised to be sooner with ourselves than we did think for, and 'tis so indeed. But had you done at first as now you do, how many civil towns had stood untouched, that now are turned to ragged heaps of stones? How many people's lives mightest thou have saved, that are untimely sunk into their graves?
Edward, recount not things irrevocable. Tell me what ransom thou requirest to have.
Thy ransom, John, hereafter shall be known. But first to England thou must cross the seas to see what entertainment it affords. Howe'er it falls, it cannot be so bad, as ours hath been since we arrived in France.
Accursed man, of this I was foretold, but did misconster what the prophet told.
Now, father, this petition Edward makes to thee, whose grace hath been his strongest shield, that, as thy pleasure chose me for the man to be thy instrument to shew thy power, so thou wilt grant that many princes more, bred and brought up within that little isle, may still be famous for like victories. And for my part, the bloody scars I bear, I wish were now redoubled 20-fold, so that hereafter ages, when they read the painful traffic of my tender youth, might thereby be inflamed with such resolve, is not the territories of France alone, but likewise Spain, Turkey, and what countries else that justly would provoke fair England's ire, might at their presence tremble and retire.
Here, English lords, we do proclaim arrest in intercession of our painful arms. Sheath up your swords, refresh your weary limbs, peruse your spoils, and after we have breathed a day or two within these haven town, God willing, then for England will be shipped, where in a happy hour I trust we shall arrive. 3 kings, 2 princes, and a queen.